Hello, welcome guys, and I am joined with Mike Tharm from Animation Toolkit. Stop motion, Mike. Welcome back. Welcome back to the land of the living. How you doing?
It does feel a while for what's been on this.
It's definitely been a while, mate.
No, I'm doing very good, mate. Let's put it this way: in the absence that I've taken away from animation toolkit, from Missing Copies podcast and Jurassic Unicast, it's been a good respite for me mentally, which is fantastic. And everything's gotten better with me at work. You're now looking at the official senior fabricator, R&D technician, and product designer for Animation Toolkit. So expect
Congratulations.
quite a few dinosaur armatures coming out over the years.
Good.
So
Which, by the way, I'm going to show a little tiny snippet of one little tiny pieces of Mike's work later on at the end of the show. So there's a lot to talk about, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Do we start off with? I'll tell you what. Let's start off with probably the biggest news, I think. Which, well, it's the news other than the actual post of there being a new Jurassic movie coming out. It's got to be David KOEPP returning.
Yeah.
Like when you found out, when you found out this news, what was your initial reaction?
Firstly, I had to double check it was definitely the right person because I in my I remember his first name was David, but I couldn't remember his surname. It's like, is this the same guy? Is this the guy who did the first and the second one? I could not remember. So after a quick check, he's did the script for the first Jurassic and the Lost World films. So I'm quite happy that he's been brought on board for it. I'm very curious about where he wants to take this because one of our conversations that we're going to have a bit later is about the era of this new franchise part. I'm curious where he wants to take this because his previous writing films are all fairly good. There's a couple of duds in there, in my personal opinion. But I think in terms of do I trust David's writing work, I would trust him with the Jurassic franchise for sure.
Yeah. Do you know what? I feel the same. Now, for me, like, I always had this little thing going on with when you think about some of the scripts. I think he did 4 Jurassic Park redrafts. Some of them were pretty not my cup of tea, and then obviously the one that we got were everyone knows and loves. I think he also had a bit of a say in the Jurassic Park 3 situation with cutting a lot of the crap out to make it as short as it was. Now, one thing I do like about David KOEPP's sort of style is that it does seem very consistent. For me, it feels very consistent. Like you can feel the tone of number 1 and number 2 are the same. Number 3, I don't even want to, because it had so many issues. I don't like with production and stuff. I kind of don't want to really include it in that. But now, Jurassic Park 1 and 2, he was the unlucky bastard, wasn't he? In that film, he was the one that got killed by the T-Rex. At the end.
I have to say, for a dead guy, he looks pretty well for himself.
Yeah, not too bad. 20 years later, what would it be? Be 20? What would it be? 26, 7 years later? Wow. Okay, so
might be something like that anyway. Yeah.
So Caleb Burnett from the Jurassic Outpost guys has written this article. Incredible news. We are somewhat shocked to read a brand new Jurassic World movie is in the works by David KOEPP being the screenwriter who did The Lost World and Jurassic Park. Although it's been 2 years since the last time dinosaurs roamed the earth in 2022, Universal Pictures hardly kept the biggest franchise trapped in amber. Okay, so it seems the project's been flying under the radar. As far and the script is well. It says, and the script in a well-liked shape that the studio is whispering of all the possible 2025 release. Now that's almost a good segue. I'll talk about the 25 release shortly. But one thing I think with David Koepp is I like the fact of how he writes. Like, I think both movies, I really like the character development in both films, and we're going to get a whole new cast, aren't we? Probably.
I would hope so, to be honest with you. If there's one thing that I am not looking forward to with this film is if they decide to bring back Bryce Dallas Howard, Chris Pratt, Sam Neill, who's the other one? Jeff Goldblum. As much as I would like to see the original cast back, and as much as I prefer Bryce over Chris, I don't want it to be a continuation of that trilogy at all. I want this to be kind of like separate to that, whether it be within that same year in that universe, or whether we're talking like, you know, a couple of decades after that particular time period. I don't know, but yeah, I don't want to see the world cast come back to this. I would like it to be a new.
Yeah. Do you know? Do you know of any?
writing.
Do you know of any work that he's been doing recently? Excuse me.
The last thing that I've got on his write-up was Dial of Destiny. Dial of Destiny is
did he do the new Indiana Jones?
Yeah, so he co-wrote it with a couple of the writers, but that's in terms of stuff that I would recognise. Dial of Destiny is the most recent one.
See, I like that film. He did also did the Kingdom. He did. There you go. KOEPP is a veteran screenwriter whose credits Mission Impossible 1996, the first Spider-Man movie in 2002, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull, and the Dial of Destiny. Do you know what? Obviously, Spielberg did the Crystal Skull, didn't he? Imagine if Steven Spielberg came back. Right, actually, let's save that. Let's save that for a later discussion when we talk about the director. So, Jurassic World Dominion, even though it wasn't the greatest success in terms of how it was received, it still managed to get the box office numbers that we all expected. You know, they promoted it to be the climax of the saga, but we always know that life will find a way. So, even to be fair, that's a good segue to go on to Frank Marshall. So let's finish off David Koepp. Really, really excited. I'm going to go in with this, knowing that he's in charge of the writing after knowing I didn't really like what happened in the last film very much.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more excited again. Like, this type of news is brought me back from being like, of course I was always going to see it. Of course we was always going to do a midnight release. You know, like we're gonna do it. It's just that, you know, that slight bit of is it just sort of, you know, is it overcooked a bit more? But him coming back as a screenwriter definitely has got me eye twitching a little bit in a good way. So so moving on, let's go to this guy, Frank Marshall. Now he was the producer or co-producer, wasn't he? Was he an executive? I can't remember what he was. Executive producer.
He was a producer of some kind for the films. Yeah, can't remember what his actual title is.
There's no director on board yet, but Frank Marshall, the veteran and celebrated producer of who oversaw Jurassic World trilogy, is now back producing, as is another Jurassic veteran, Patrick Crowley. So Spielberg will executive produce via his Amblin Entertainment banner. Now, he teased about a new era, didn't he? Do you remember back in the day?
Yeah.
He had this like what's going to go happen coming forward. It's going to be a new era of what's going to happen. So, are we thinking this kind of coincides with what era it's going to be in? So, do we think that with, there's not going to be any past characters, maybe possibly Henry Wu? Because I think Henry Wu, although he's done his climax, he done his whole story arc, didn't he, in Dominion?
Yeah.
I think possibly there's room for him to return, but more so as a flashback sort of character in a certain scene, maybe. So let's skip ahead. I think this will be a post-Dominion story.
I would hope so. If they do anything that's in the way of a prequel, or it's set in the same time frame as what Dominion or any of the other previous trilogy films were set, I think that would be a step in the wrong direction. I think that would be 10 steps back, where going ahead, like you say, post-Dominion would be the better option. It's just a question of, are we talking the same amount of time that has passed since Dominion for us in our world, because everything that's happening in this Jurassic universe is the same year as it always comes out. Or are we going to literally jump ahead by 10, 20, 50, 100 years, whatever it might be?
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I would love that, because it would break the tradition of Jurassic falling in real time.
Yeah.
It really would break the tradition of it. But I do think a time jump's needed. But for my story, like for something that I would think would work really well, would be to maybe fast, not too much, just enough so we can see more of an impact. Because I didn't really feel that the impact that the dinosaurs being released into the wild had on Dominion. I think the locust caused more of an impact than the dinosaurs caused. People just learned to coexist with these creatures, and they were more of an inconvenience as opposed to an actual threat.
Yes.
Whereas I think if they've got so much option, there's so many characters from the novels that they can use. Marty Gutierrez for one. Howard, another one. Who's the George Basserton, another one. One of all Dodgson's like colleagues that could be like brought into this. Ed Regis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
you've got so many things that you could do and bring characters in that I think you could even go as far as bringing in the story elements of the aberrant forms that appear on the mainland of different places that causing aggro in like local villages and things, so I think if we go on to, I'll tell you what, let's segue into what era. So I think it's going to be, we both agree it could be in the future, right? Or it could be at least post-Dominion. So if we went, I don't know, say 10 years into the future, the ecosystem could be all over the place.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine it to be. Yeah.
And for all we know is that these animals could produce almost like a COVID, which the human race is struggling to deal with. See, that's the kind of route I would go with, like the Planet of the Apes route. So the world slowly turning almost prehistoric, and humans are trying to survive, and they can, but they have to survive, in quarantine zones.
Yeah.
Where a bit like a Terra Nova, you're not going out there. Because it's just too dangerous, and you can bring disease back. It's just too. But obviously, humans being humans, we need the resources of the actual world. So I know we'd probably build our society on top of a resource naturally, but I'm sure there's more around the world that as soon as that's going to run out, it's not constant, is it?
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah.
So
if you come out with it,
So if you was to think something post-Dominion, what sort of story would you think that they would go for?
So if it was me and I was writing for, Jurassic era, the first or whatever, I would probably want to do it where it's set maybe 15 or 20 years after Dominion. So we've had a good amount of time for human society to fall into some kind of a slump, whether it be the divide between rich and poor have gotten bigger because of the introduction of dinosaurs into the natural habitat, or they're just finding it harder to be able to expand because of territories that are being carved out by various herbivores and carnivores, especially migrating dinosaurs as well. You can imagine that, if you're trying to do anything where there used to be some kind of migratory path in America, for example, if you can't have a town in a place where you've got like 1,000 parasaurs constantly walking through every single year to get to a feeding ground or something, you can imagine that on a chaos scheme where that's just going to be impossible. It's bad enough when you get the migration of the crabs at Christmas Island. Now think about that if the crabs were like 100 feet tall and big enough to crush a car. So that would be my kind of draw with it. And if I was going to bring a character back from the series, I would want them to be a character that's going to be older. So one of the kids, for example, whether it be Maisie, Lex, Tim, any of the kids, you've kind of got that attachment to the previous films, but they're still a new character in the sense that they aren't a kid anymore. They are very much an adult, and adult things can happen to them. AKA, they can get hurt, they can get killed, they can swear and curse and shoot guns and stuff. Whereas in any other film, apart from kicking a raptor out the window, that's the most violent thing you could ever do as a kid. It's just run and scream.
Yeah, see, I think we need to get back. We need to get rid of this whole protecting the dinosaurs crap. Like, I don't want to protect the dinosaurs. I want to be scared of them. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want Maisie Lockwood to then become some sort of Greta Thunberg or like activist. Where we're actually like rooting for the main cast to help the dinosaurs survive.
I
want them to be the enemy. I don't, like they were in the first and the second movie. Granted, they were just surviving in the second movie, and we went into their territory, so they're just doing what they do. Even Alan Grant says, "Well, they're the other kind, just do what they do," and it works. I just want that back. I want them to be the villain again.
Yeah.
So, I felt
I
like we
definitely
didn't
agree
get
with
that.
I would definitely want them to definitely take a more Lost World look with it, where even the herbivores are a threat. It's still a docile animal. You can still stand there and watch them migrate past you, but if you mess around with them or their infants or just do something they're not happy with, they will defend themselves. And that's what I would like to see for this iteration. So even say, for example, if Maisie was to make a return as an adult actress now, she would be more of a person that's like, she understands what they're like, but she's not going to be interfering with them. So she's not going to do an Owen and stick her hands up and like, oh, there's a herd of things coming. Let's stop them by doing this. She's just going to be like, you get out of their way because they will kill you. And that's the end of it. There's no kind of like ifs and buts or if we try this. It's like she's just respectful of the animals and that's it. Just leave them be. That's what I would want. I would not want them to go down the route of, oh, but don't worry, it's a nice peaceful thing. Therefore, we can make merchandise out of it.
Yeah. See, that's the thing we're fighting against, though, isn't it? This film is going to be a toy seller, so I fully expect lots of different species. Well, or a new line of toys related to the species that we've already got. There's a lot of toys in the shops actually that I've never even heard of, half of them. just a plethora of
I look at some of them and I'm like, is that real? is this
yeah.
actually discovered, or is this just something
Is that like the
dreamt up in the lab?
Crichtonosaurus that's just been made up? But that's the thing, isn't it? Like it's I'm not as scared now. Actually, now I know that David Koepp's involved. I'm not as worried being the screenwriter. Now the best news in the world would be if Steven Spielberg came back on. So imagine if, which actually no, we're not going to let that. I don't want to segue yet. I don't want to do that. Do you know what? Yes, we will. We're going to do that. I'm going to go to a quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to talk about directors. So, welcome back, guys. Who directs this film? If Steven Spielberg comes back, it will be the same equivalent of, I don't know, it'll be the same equivalent of, let's just say, I can't think of an analogy. What it's Star Wars. Let's think of Star Wars. This would be like George Lucas and Filoni and Favreau all working together on one movie, and bringing everybody's favorite characters together, or actually remaking the sequel trilogy so that all the three characters can
never have to
spend time together. That's what this would be like. That's a better analogy, right?
Yeah.
If Spielberg comes back on board, now the reason why I'm thinking this could, and I mean could very, very lightly, could be a possibility, is because it's been nearly 30 years since he's directed one of these films. His style of movies changed. It has changed. Movie making has changed in that time. Jurassic has changed a lot in that time. But I do think his touch, Bayona is probably the closest we've got to his touch, I think, in movie making. And I think his feel on a film and tension and all the stuff that we've been missing for the last sort of 4 movies, he could bring back. Now, working together with David Koepp, them two together would be great. And I think knowing that it's not a sequel, and it's you could class it as a Jurassic Park 7 or a Jurassic World 4 or whatever you want to call it. But if it's Jurassic Era, if the movie title is called Jurassic Era, rather than Jurassic World, so you have Jurassic Park, bigger than that is a Jurassic World, bigger than the Jurassic World is the Jurassic Era, right? So let's just, for argument's sake, call it Jurassic Era. And it's the start of a new trilogy. I can picture the tabloids now. Is Spielberg's first Jurassic World movie, does it compare to Jurassic Park back in 30 years ago? Because it's the same director, you've got more of a direct contrast comparison. And I think that will be very, very interesting. And I think there's a lot of potential there. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I think if Spielberg does pick up the torch again, I think there will be some kind of a return to what we expect for a Jurassic film. Now, nothing against Trevorrow. I preferred Bayona's directing for Fallen Kingdom than I did the other 2 films directors, but they just didn't have that magic that you had between Jurassic Park and The Lost World when you've got Spielberg at the helm. Now, in terms of the scripts, we all agree that they're very hit and miss on certain things, especially with The Lost World having a very sudden script change at the end
Yeah.
to tie into the whole kind of like, I want to direct a Godzilla film, which is, understandable for Spielberg. We all want to have that sort of, I want to do this thing before whatever. But like you say, filmmaking's changed. Spielberg himself has changed as a director and as a person. So I think what he's learned in that time, he could come back and inject something new without almost like betraying what he's already created. Whereas everybody else are trying to piggyback on that success of the original trilogy, and in this case, the World trilogy, but still adding to it. And if anything, you're not adding anything great. It's just adding more. What's the word I'm looking for? More noise to an already perfect picture. And what you need to do is take that noise away and be like, right, okay. So rather than having this big monstrosity for this scene, we just need to tone it down so it focuses on what the core of this scene is. And I think Spielberg could do that. But if we were to have somebody else, then I think Bayona would be a good runner-up on that side of things.
I would love Bayona to take over again. I really, really would.
Yeah.
Cinematography of that film is incredible. So it's... I've got no issues with Bayona coming back at all. Like, don't get me wrong, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom isn't my favourite by any means. It's probably, depending on my mood, ranked 4th. Sometimes 5th. But I appreciate it. And that doesn't mean that's not a bad thing. It's just the story of the way it plans out doesn't excite me overly to want to watch it a lot. So that's all. But I like it for visual effects. Like, I like all the dinosaurs and the scenes stuff. Anyway, let's get to this comment. I don't think Spielberg is coming back because he said he was burned out after The Lost World, says Allosaurus 1456. But who knows? He might come back. Indeed. Now, what do you think of this shout? Based on the society that we are currently in, I've got to word this very well. Ticking boxes, along with, having the credentials as well, and experience, and more, I don't know what, passion I'm going to put into this. I wouldn't be very surprised if we get Bryce Dallas Howard as a director. Now, I don't know whether she's done any movies. Eloy is going.
One.
I don't know if she's done a movie on. I know she's obviously done a lot of the Mandalorian and Star Wars episodes, and I've actually really enjoyed all of those. But I wouldn't be very surprised, especially after having the female writer last time. I wouldn't be surprised if we got Bryce as a director who would probably do it for far less money than what Spielberg probably would. And to credit to Bryce, like, she's a very good director. She is a very good director. She's got a brilliant. Her dad's a good director. She's learned from a good director, and her tone from her episodes in Star Wars have all been very good. And she just loves the franchise. One thing about what you're going to get with her is that she won't look at it as a job. Or she will look at it as a job, of course, but she won't just look at it as a job. She will literally put her sweat, blood, and tears into this film.
I get the vibe from Bryce that when she goes to do her directing, it's like she's not working, she's playing. It's like she doesn't think of it as a chore. She doesn't go in there thinking, oh, I really don't want to go into work today. She's excited to get on set to then start filming something that is going to entertain the masses and feel the pride about doing that. That's the vibe I get from her, from the stuff that I've seen. I've just had a quick look at her directory. It looks like she's only done one film called Dads in 2019. Everything else that she's done has either been a short TV series or a TV series, aka Mandalorian. So there's She's got a
Okay.
fair amount under her belt, but that's the only film that she's got. I mean, let's put it this way: if she was to get another film, a Jurassic movie would be perfect for her.
I just wouldn't be shocked. Like, I wouldn't be against it at all. Like I said, I've enjoyed all of the Star Wars stuff that she's done. I don't quite know what her style is yet, based on from what I've seen.
Yeah.
From what I can remember, it's quite family, sort of.
Yeah.
You know, which I guess kind of works. I wouldn't. Do you know what? I'll tell you what I would like to see a story about that family that we saw in Battle at Big Rock.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
That wouldn't be bad, having a little family dynamic of the new film. You know, you follow their journey since what happened, that incident, you know? But this is tough. Obviously, there could be so many different directors. People are going to pluck directors. Like, there's some real big movie buffs out there that, you know, that are going to want to get their, you know, mitts on this baby. But
exactly.
It's got to be right. The producers have got to get it right.
And there's some names out there that I could say, oh yeah, I could see them doing it because they've done creature features like Peter Jackson and Del Toro. But at the same time, it's like you look at their body of work and it's like, yeah, they've done creature features, but it's not Jurassic. I think they would turn it into their version of Jurassic, which it isn't. What I feel personally shouldn't be what you would do with this franchise. There needs to be kind of like that linear thread that goes through. So even though you've got different directors and different styles, it still needs to feel like you're going through one Jurassic scenario into the next, and not Jurassic, and then suddenly flipping King Kong, Pacific Rim, and then you get to another Jurassic movie. So it needs to have that finesse. And as we were saying, you know, people like Spielberg and Dallas, they worked on these films from either one side of the lens or the other. They know what the content is, they know what the audience is, and they probably have a stronger attachment to it than what most people would realize, especially when you see them in the interviews. And whenever they talk about dinosaurs, there's always that big beaming face going on their faces. So you know that they love the subject matter. They're not just treating them as, oh, right, okay, so we need a dinosaur. We'll just throw anything out there that is popular at the moment.
Yeah. I just don't know what to expect, do you? Like, it's a tough call because all these different directors will have their own visions and what they picture. Like this could be a complete reboot, like Jurassic World was. You know, it can have the same lore and story elements. You know, you can use the past if you need to help you project a new story. But the only worry I have is that they're going to try and go with a female lead that isn't very well known. And I don't know how that would go. Now, someone like Laura Dern, she'd be an amazing female lead because, you know, she's built up that reputation that people want to follow her on this journey. Whereas I don't think her new female lead would be the way forward. And I think that's why Jurassic World works so well. Or even though I do think it was Bryce's story, it was her arc as a character. It was her journey. If Chris Pratt weren't in that film, it wouldn't have had the same impact. People went to the cinema to see Chris Pratt, you know, take on dinosaurs. Let's be honest. And we need an action hero. And I just don't think. I think having a male lead would be the best way for it. But especially if we're having a new cast, but I wouldn't be open. I would be open to a co one though, definitely a man and a female together. That would be quite cool. You know, two characters together.
I'm going to give you a counter argument on that. Have you seen the new Tomb Raider film I can't remember what year it came out, but it was
I saw the latest
quite a
one.
while ago now.
Yeah, I did see
Yeah,
the latest one.
What did you think of that Tomb Raider compared to the Tomb Raider with what's the name now? Pouty Lips. What's the name?
Oh,
Angelina Jolie.
yeah.
Is it Angelina Jolie?
Yeah, it's Angelina Jolie, yeah.
Yeah, it's Angelina Jolie. Yeah. So, considering that I grew up with the old PlayStation Tomb Raider, which is what Angelina's version is based on, I've never played the newer Tomb Raider games, but having seen the new adaptation of that Tomb Raider, that to me was like, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted, a female Indiana Jones. You know, even if she's not got the gimmick of a whip or something like that, you can still tell she's a strong, independent person that knows what she wants. And that, in what I think for a Jurassic film, you know, if we did get like an older version of Amazing, or hell, even if what's the features came back, the pilot from the Dominion
Kayla
movie.
Watts.
Yeah, Kayla Watts, that's it. If they came back with that,
I
sort
fully
of
expect it to be her anyway.
it probably wouldn't surprise me.
100%
It wouldn't
expect
surprise
it to
me
be
at
her.
all. Yeah.
It's
But yeah,
written in the stars.
if they came back in that sort of, you know, we are women, we are strong, we are empowered, but we're not here to look pretty. We are here to get shit done and to protect people and to make sure that whoever's wanting to do ill is not going to pursue it. That's what I'd like. I'd like that sort of narrative. I don't want it to be, you know, we're getting a female lead in just for the hell of it, or we're ticking boxes because we need certain ethnicity, a certain gender, a certain sexuality. It's
does
the
make me
moment you
worry.
start doing that, that's when it's just kind of like, you know, you've
Yeah.
lost the audience already. If they just get people in where it's like I say, like a Maisie character or
It's just got to
Kelly
make
or
sense,
anybody like
Mike.
that,
It's just got to
it
make
does,
sense.
yeah, exactly.
The
Yeah,
problem
it
is
has
that
to
we
make
get
sense. If you're just going to shoehorn somebody in, I mean, like you say with the Battle of the Big Rock family, if it's the kids grown up, then you can follow that. Was it brother and sister? I forget what. Yeah, it was brother and sister, weren't it? Yeah. So you could follow that brother and sister relationship and still have a strong female lead. It doesn't have to be that, you know, she's the pretty one and he's the macho hero. After the trauma of going through something like that, you are going to be like, I'm not going to mess around in this world anymore. I need to educate myself, to learn, to adapt.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know, like, if any of the Camp Cretaceous garbage gets incorporated into it, and whether that's like, then it's going to solidify it.
The only thing I would like from Camp Cretaceous is Old Man Bumpy. Just like this old ankylosaur that's just fucking grouchy as hell. And it's just like, yeah, you don't mess with that guy. That's the only one I want to come back. Everyone else, I don't care.
All right, let's get to this comment. Mike Zilla 103. Hello, Mike. One Mike to another Mike. Hi. I'm surprised they are making another one. I like Dominion, but it felt like it was a satisfying ending to me. If they made more, then fine, I'll check it out. Let's just see how it turns out. For a director, I love Spielberg, but pretty sure he isn't returning. Maybe Bryce Dallas Howard. I just wouldn't. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would place a bet on Bryce Dallas Howard being the director, and the main roles will be Kayla Watts and who's the other black guy that was in the film? Ramsey.
I don't know his name, but I know
Ramsey?
I know who you mean.
Ramsey.
Ramsey. I can't remember his name.
I think it's Ramsey, and it'll be him. All right, and they'll be the two lead characters. And I don't know why, I don't know how. I just have a feeling that will be the case. And look, I'll see. Like David KOEPP probably will, you know, do something cool. We can only hope anyway, can't we? Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, there is one more thing that I would like to talk about before we go into the possibility of actually being 2025 before we finish off. So that is Steve Brusatte returns. Now, he was the lead paleontologist on Jurassic World Dominion, and No, it wasn't Fallen Kingdom. No, it wasn't Fallen. It was Dominion. And he did a good job, didn't he?
I think he did. And I also don't think he deserved half the grief that you're getting from people either. So hopefully,
absolutely not.
for his return to the Jurassic franchise, I'm hoping people will actually cut him some slack this time and just allow him to do what he was employed to do in the first place, which is to advise. It's not like he's the one that's designing these things in a closet somewhere.
No, he just, he says this is what it possibly could do. This is what it could possibly look like. And then obviously it's down to the creative team to be creative.
Yeah, exactly.
He's there to advise, and he did with the old arm situation, didn't he? And he brought in feathers, which was good. I think we're going to get a lot more of that. I'll be very surprised if we don't. Yes, same here. So his tweet says, "It's happening. The reports are true. A new Jurassic World film is in the works, and I'll be back as a consultant, helping the movie makers get a pulse on what we really know about dinosaurs. Honoured again to follow in the footsteps of Dusty Dino," which is, of course, Jack Horner. They better add feathers this time. And then he says there were feathers in Dominion. Let's see what that says.
Yeah, you can tell that person never watched it.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, bit random. Yeah, so Steve Brusatte returns. I'm happy about that. I liked all of the dinosaurs. I think I'd like to see things like the Therizino again. Definitely. I think I would like to see several Pyroraptors. As opposed to just
this time rather than just
a random ocean ice dwelling random Pyroraptor.
In fact, that would be another thing. I would like to see the Pyro in another environment that isn't something that you can swim in.
Yeah,
if this is all it's going to be is the fish raptor, it's like, I'm out.
No, I either want to see it again as a pack or not at all. Basically, I want to see the Therizinosaurus. Things I don't want. I don't want tag team wrestling matches, particularly between a carnivore and a herbivore. That then would then go on and fight themselves after. I don't want any lightning strikes at the end of the fight to celebrate as a win. I want the characters in this film to have high stakes. I think what Dominion suffered with is the grand scale of the movie that it was trying to cope with. The epic scale of this. It made you lose the fear of losing one of the characters. I want sacrificing. I want isolation, seclusion, claustrophobia. I want them to stay away from means of escape, because that's the problem, is that you've got the whole time we're at Biosyn Valley, they're safe, because unless they're in that jungle, they're safe. They're just in a big white building in a university hospital place. So I didn't have any fear. On not one point in that movie, I was sitting there thinking, right, dinosaur's going to break in here. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like when the minute the power went down at Jurassic Park, the characters went to the visitor bunker, the bunker. They didn't want to go out. As soon as they landed on the Lost World and the T-Rexes got a sniff of the camp, from then on it was just carnage. In Jurassic Park 3, the moment they landed on the island, it was dinosaur after dinosaur of territory, incidents to deal with. Jurassic World was different because of course, they were already in enclosures and it was a park environment. But as soon as the Pteranodons got out, carnage. So I kind of think we need to have that fear back We need to see. It just depends on the rating. It's got to be a minimum 12A, PG-13 minimum. It won't be R-rated, annoyingly.
But there'll never be an R-rated Jurassic film until Universal decides that the first film needs a solid reboot. That's the only way that's ever going to get an R rating. They're not going to throw an R-rated film in an already established franchise from 1993. That's just not going to happen.
No. See, for me, I want a mixture of. I want to see a little bit of horror though. Like Bayona got away with it. That film was quite brutal. You know, he had an arm bitten off. You know, there was people getting killed left, right, and centre. You know, that manor scene was pretty intense in the dark, especially in the cinema. It was really intense. So we can do it. We can get it back. I want us to get away from Camp Cretaceous, just like the fun the Lego side of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be fun. I want it to be something that I want to I need to be in the mood to watch because it's like terrifying.
Yeah, it's fine having, you know, your kid-friendly stuff, your teenage stuff, and then your adult stuff, or at least the stuff that, you know, adults can quite happily watch and kids will watch it through the fingers. But it shouldn't be a case of you whitewash everything with the same brush just for the sake of, we want this to appeal to kids. Kids are going to be appealed to it regardless because it's dinosaurs. They're not going to be like, well, that's so old, you know, old hat or anything. They will watch it regardless. I mean, I was watching 18 films like Aliens when I was like 7 or 8 years old. You know, didn't stop me from watching them. I mean, I turned the TV off when I got scared or I watched it through my fingers, but I still watched it. So, I think that anybody on the team, whether it be from the director down to the producers and what have you, just need to remember that they don't need to pander to the audience. Let the audience come to them.
Do you know what? I think if people stop watching that Camp Cretaceous on Netflix, they might get the hint.
Yeah.
Or is it the kids that's keeping it going just purely because of numbers and money?
Yeah, it probably is. I mean, for the amount of kids that watched the 93 film that then grew up to be the adults, they're the ones that supercharge the World trilogy. So now you're going to be getting the same effect where you've got the kids that grew up with the World trilogy that are then going to go into this franchise. Are they the ones that are then going to be complaining about the stuff we complained about when the World series came out?
Probably right. Right, on that bombshell, let's finish there on that, and let's just close out. We're going to do a quick discussion about whether you think 2025 is possible, and then we'll go on to finishing off of just a little bit of promotion for you before we end the show. So, is 2025 possible, Mike?
When I read the news, I assumed what they were referring to was that David KOEPP had been brought on to write the script and that we were going to get a film in 3 years. Not, we've got KOEPP on board and the film's going to be out next year. Now, granted, we don't know when next year, so we could be talking like December of 2025 for argument's sake. However, now that, I can't remember if we saw it in the live feed or whether it was something we had seen in the pre-show chat, that they've already been working on this since Dominion ended. So even though it's been flying under the radar for so long, I am very curious about, one, how much film have they actually got sorted in terms of the special effects, the practical effects, if they're doing practical, the filming locations, the scripts and everything. I know that the filming side of it doesn't take as long as what people think it does, but I know that getting from location to location, depending on what the story is, may be a factor. The fact that we've not seen any kind of like leaked photos online of, you know, we've got potential Jurassic movie in the works or anything.
Like, I mean,
I don't know.
Like, I know, you know, the Chaos Theorem guys are probably under NDA no matter what anyway.
Yeah.
And I know Jack has been working, but I don't know. He's not specifically said what he's been working on. I thought I've just taken it as his own little, like, you know, his own projects he does for Terradome.
Yeah.
You know, for all we know that they could be working on viral marketing for the next film. But we've had nothing about that yet. Now, I'm wondering whether we need to, whether once the fire starts igniting a little bit more, now we've had this news, that they will get a green light to, you know, who knows, they might be producing something themselves behind closed doors, and you know, they can go, well, there you go, this is what we're working on, this is what the future kind of inhales. It just seems too close.
It does. I mean, I have to say, until I actually read when Dominion came out, in my mind, it came out last year. But it was 22, and we're already on 24, so that's already 2 years. So in theory, 25 would be the third year, which would keep the tradition of
it's
every film
crazy.
coming out 3 years.
It's mad,
it's
I know.
ridiculous.
And it's 10-year anniversary of Jurassic World as well. 2025.
So yeah, I'm very much in two minds about it, because if they're saying that they've only just got the script writer and it's going to get out next year, then that to me would say we're not going to get many practical effects, we're not going to get many visual effects, because those are the things that take time in a film production.
You know, using your knowledge, Mike, how long would it take to set up that workshop to do the practical effects?
If you're doing a workshop, you're probably talking somewhere between 6 to 12 months for preparation, and that may bleed into actual production and finishing. But when you then start taking these things onto the location or on set or whatever, then that's when things may or may not go smoothly, because from what you did in the workshop will go smoothly, you take it somewhere else, and then suddenly it's not in its natural environment of the workshop. So if something goes wrong, you just go out and fix it. On location, you need to make sure you've got all the equipment there if anything goes wrong. And if it's on set, you need to make sure you've got the right technicians there in order to fix the problem if it also goes wrong.
So how long does the latex normally last on these animatronics?
Latex, if it's in, I'm trying to think what the best way to describe this. If it's out of direct sunlight and it's used in reasonably moderate temperatures, so we're talking like British summertime-ish,
20 degrees
weather, so nothing tropical. Yeah, nothing tropical, just kind of like average temperature. Latex can last for an entire shoot if it's treated well. And when I say treated well, I mean like a jaw opening and closing is treated well. A model that's being hit repeatedly with a rubber crowbar is going to deteriorate a lot quicker. But if we're talking about submerging it in water, being involved in physical interactions with things, you could be talking daily repairs and potentially even daily replacement parts and everything.
So technically, 2025 is a year and a half away in terms of it's going to be a summer blockbuster, right? So you're looking at a year and a half. Now, you know, Disney movies, Marvel movies produce very, very quickly now these days, but I feel like the quality has dropped.
Yeah.
Because of that. However, there is ways using the technology that they have used for like the Mandalorian with these spherical backdrops that you can create on site, on location environment and make it look real. And it's not necessarily like a green screen. So they could cut corners there and save time using these techniques. However, it does worry me that they're not going to go down the animatronic route But then I wasn't a really big fan of the Minions one. So it depends on what company they use. And the reason I was asking is they might still have the rigs at the what's the studio they use for Fallen Kingdom? Legacy Effects.
It was. I want to say it might be Legacy. I can't remember. I remember Legacy did the first one. I can't remember who did the second one.
I think it was Legacy Effects.
Was
Rosengrant.
Third one was somebody else, and they just went up for the task. I mean, don't get me wrong.
The third one was the Jim Henson Company people, wasn't it?
It was not great. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So the third company was they looked like Jim Henson puppets. That's probably why I didn't like it. I like Jim Henson puppets, but you're in a puppet world when you're watching that stuff, and it didn't really transition well in real life for me. But if they've still got the rigs for that stuff, there's no reason why they can't latex skin it. Is that right or not?
Technically, yes, but there's a lot of red tape when it comes to companies sharing whether it be their asset. Well, they call them their assets, but it depends on what we're referring to. So if you think about, you had Stan Winston working on 3 films, right? Technically, in theory, when they did Jurassic World, they could have gone to Stan Winston's and got the blueprints to make the T-Rex. They could have got the blueprints to make the Raptors. They could have got the blueprints to what was it? The thing that was in there, the Brachiosaur and everything that was already from their archive. They could have quite easily have done that, but because it's been such a massive gap between the films, for starters, a lot of that stuff has already been either auctioned off, or it's deteriorated, or it's been scrapped and rebuilt into something else. But in terms of things where it's a lot sooner, so for example, World to the Era trilogies, one company will not just hand over their stuff. They will say you can either buy it off us or you can mimic it and make your own. But they will not just say, "Oh yeah, you're making a Jurassic movie, here you go," which is, in my opinion, not the right way to do it. But it's just the way the industry works, unfortunately.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know, because it can, that could be the difference between it being 2026 rather than 2025. And if or if they go the Jurassic World route, there was no practical effects in that, except for the
Apatosaurus. Yeah.
And to be honest, when I'm watching these 3 films, it's the best one, in my opinion, out of the World trilogy.
Yeah.
So you know what? Yeah, maybe they could have used raptor heads, physical raptor heads, but when I think about it now, no, I don't care that they didn't use raptor heads in there, because when I saw them in Dominion, it was crap. So there we go. I'm you could cut corners there and go for the CGI route, and maybe 2025 is possible.
Yeah, possibly. If they go down the world route of just having everything as a digital asset, those are a lot easier. I mean, CGI these days, as we all know, has come along leaps and bounds since '93, and even more so since 2015. So it's not like they're having to start again from scratch, and it's a lot easier to digitally sculpt, rig, animate these things these days anyway. The real question will be, if they do end up, say, using the same Rex as what they did for the trilogy world, World trilogy, are they going to remake the Rex from scratch, which is then going to uphold this whole "that's not Rexy" argument again? Or are they going to model something different, so it's a different T-Rex altogether? Or are they actually going to be allowed to use the same assets from ILM to use for the new World trilogy? I mean, it also might be a case of, if ILM get brought in, then they should already have those assets in their records to reuse them anyway, or enhance them to do whatever. But yeah, it's when it comes to animation and practical effects, they tend to take the most time. So to be told that the release date is sometime next year, you've already got to have those models already made. They've already got to be functional, and they've already got to be, if not in production, at least to the end of being filmed because if they're not even at that stage yet, I'm worried that they're just going to either rush through it or we're not going to get a lot of content, and it's going to be a 90% human movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
Right, well, let's
Jurassic,
finish there on that
a
one.
Jurassic movie is not a people movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's a family movie though. He's a family movie. So let's. Right, that's where to finish the chat of the Jurassic stuff is. Mike, you've got some interesting stuff that you want to talk about. So stick around because we're going to talk about the future of Mike Tharms and his creations at, what was it called again, Mike?
Animation
Toolkit. Matt, yeah, that's the one.
No, Free Creations. That's me personally, but Animation Toolkit. That's where it's all at the moment.
Okay. Future for Mike and his creations. Right. So Animation Toolkit, you've had a job there for a few years now, haven't you? And you've been making armatures. You've done quite a good job of the Velociraptor. What scale was that one?
That was originally based on Phil Tippett's original Jurassic Park version, so that would have been a 1/5 scale.
Excellent. And you have also been working on this little beauty. So would you like to talk about this a little bit more? These two little raptor feet.
Yeah, these are the teas for, as we dub it here at Animation Toolkit, Rage of the Raptor 2. So it's an upgraded version of the Raptor that we originally made a few years ago. But since then, I have been able to access systems and technology that originally I didn't have access to then. So now, most of this foot, let's put it in context, the old foot would take me the best part of a day to assemble because the amount of joints that I had to make from scratch, the amount of parts that needed cleaning, and because of the size of said parts, they were so much easier to lose by simply just dropping it on the floor. You would never see it again. With these feet, I can get them made now in literally 30 minutes. And these are all laser cut parts. So they're not just sharp, but they're buffed, they are polished, they are pristine, they articulate like butter on a knife.
Oh, really?
And in terms of accuracy to the original armature, whilst the original didn't have these feet, the T-Rex did. So what these feet are modeled on is more of the T-Rex from Tippett Studio than the current Raptor. But this is the sort of setup that they would have used.
Got a quick question. Why have the claws got holes in?
2 reasons. One, to lighten the weight of the armature. So the whole thing will be peppered with holes in. But also, if you were to decide that you didn't want to have this as a shelf item and you wanted to actually animate it, which in this iteration is much more possible now, if you wanted to sculpt something onto that claw as a metal sheet, you won't have any kind of purchase to it. So even though you've got that curve to it, there's still a chance that it could just pop off like a sheet. So with the holes in the claws, you sculpt some milliput material onto there to shape the claw. That will never come off. So it holds the material in place.
Oh. Yeah, I did wonder because I remember seeing the holes on the armature, and I thought it was just like a design feature that it was just going for, like an aesthetic thing. But that makes much more sense, actually.
Yeah,
it does make sense though.
I mean, there's a very fine line between having something look pristine and having something that's functional. So if you want something that's functional, it has to be lightweight, it has to be robust, and it has to be something that if you pose it with one foot in the air, you know that other foot is going to be able to support the entire weight of everything else. But if you want it to look pristine, then it has to be super polished, which means there's no tension. And it also has to be they're thoroughly cleaned to the point where the amount of time you're spending on making it and cleaning it outweighs the amount of cost people would have to then spend on it. So there's a fine line there in terms of what people can afford to buy and what people are prepared to have.
Do those toes splay a little bit?
Yes, they do everything an actual foot would do. So that sickle claw, for example, can go all the way down, do the tap, and articulate all the way back up. The toes can fold into an actual claw if you wanted to. So if it's jumping up into the air, they will splay and they will articulate in.
Yeah.
And as you can see on the other foot, it can even support itself on its actual tippy toes as well if you absolutely wanted it to.
Fair enough. That's interesting. Like I do like them. I think you do a good little job of these things.
Oh,
I've got a
these are so much better than the old ones. Yeah,
I've got
they're just amazing.
Something quickly. It is just for people to watch. A little video I made of your Raptor armature there.
Ah, yes, I forgot about this.
Yeah. For some strange reason, my internet. So there we go.
Yeah, I know.
Let's put it on a lower. I was trying to stream in 4K. That's probably not helping.
Okay.
There we go. Let's do
it's nice to look in 4K, I will say.
Yeah. I know. So there it is. That is your Raptor.
That's the little kit that we were doing. So it's not that one. It's the one after it.
Oh, okay.
You need to skip it.
I will do when it actually loads. Oh my goodness me.
Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, innit? Yeah, talk about it. I shouldn't have any problems. I've got like a. There we go.
There we go.
So it's.
So that's,
oh my god! There we go.
1/5 scale Raptor.
The 1/5 scale Raptor.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to give up. There we go. That one's a 1/5 scale. Ah, look, there's you in the background there. Look.
Yeah, there I am, hiding away in the corner.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
So as you can see, that's quite a sizable bit of kit in itself.
So you compose that in any way you want, yeah?
Any way you want. So when we were doing photography for this, I was trying my hardest to get all the poses of what you would have seen with the Stanwin's animatronic and any of the CG stills from the World Trilogy. And I tell you something, if it had the skin on it, you would literally think you were looking at a posable model from the features. Every pose you put it in, it felt like it came straight out of the movie itself.
That's so good. No, I like it.
Oh,
it's really good job, mate.
Yeah, it's amazing.
These Raptors haven't got the holes in, though, have they?
No, originally our old system used to be we used to hand draw everything, so it had to be to scale. So those holes are roughly about about 3 mil in diameter, and the largest being 4.5 in diameter. Now, when you're trying to do that by hand, that's a lot harder to do than when you go into a CAD program and you can zoom straight in there and get all those tiny little nooks and crannies to make sure it's absolutely pristine.
Yeah, fair enough. Makes sense now. Absolutely. Right. Well, so that's your work. What's happening in the future then that you can talk about, and then we'll say our goodbyes.
So with this new Raptor that's coming out, the first one is going to ILM, where a friend of mine who works over there is going to do some stop motion with it. So be on the watch out for that at some point on social media. We've still got it here, so it's not going to be up anytime soon, but I would imagine by maybe sometime in the summer, maybe we might get some little cheeky footage knocking out somewhere. And the rest of the Animation Toolkit studio itself, we've got quite a few kits and products that are coming out soon. Which are definitely going to appeal to anyone that's into their kind of like creature features and animal type stuff. So yeah, there's quite a few bits going on in the background that I can talk about in that sense.
Yeah.
So I've just spoken of now. A lot of it, though, unfortunately, is all NDA, so I can't go into specifics. But
I won't
let's
say
put it this
anything.
way: as the head R&D guy and senior fabricator and everything that I put forward to put into production as a product is going immediately in my thought process of what would the Jurassic fans want? What would people that are into dinosaurs and creatures and monsters and kaiju want? So anything that's coming out between now and Christmas is going to be for those people, because as much as I love animation, I really do wish there were more young people out there that were embracing stop motion and what's the word I'm looking for? Expressing their inner creature. Because as much as CGI is the trend now, which is fine, some people they don't get to do CG, and stop motion is that perfect upgrade where you can take your toy, you can take your camera, all you need is a basic program on your computer, and you can still make that animation yourself. You don't need an expensive program to do it.
Did you see that someone made they did a stop motion Jurassic World Dominion fight scene using the toys?
Mm-hmm.
It looked
Yeah.
well good. They did such a good job. And,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you know what I really liked about
Exactly.
it is they framed it amazingly.
Yeah.
Didn't they? Like
Exactly.
how
Yeah,
they
really
must have snapped a few joints to articulate it. They did.
Oh, probably. Absolutely. I mean,
Use
the toys
multiple
themselves are
Rexes and
okay.
multiple. Yeah.
I mean, the toys themselves are okay. I mean, especially things like the Hammond collection and what have you, where they do have
Yeah.
that articulation. But the material is not forgiving for stop motion. So for them to have done what they did, not only did they probably end up breaking quite a few parts to do it, but it just proves that stop motion to any person, whether they be a young child or an amateur or a hobbyist or whatever,
Yeah.
is something that's achievable and accessible to everybody. So yeah, it's, the only thing that's stopping people is their imagination.
Well, I think that's a good way to end, mate. I think it's been an absolute pleasure having you back on. Don't be a stranger. I'm sure we'll get you back again soon for some other, maybe some maybe we'll do some more commentaries, things like that. For the listeners, I think tomorrow Steve has got a live stream. I think he might be back on Jurassic World Evolution. Not sure yet, so don't quote me on that. But we're going to try and get back onto that game. There's something to do as well, regular, as well as me doing the retro Sega Genesis and all those sort of games you can check out on the channel. You'll find in the previous live streams. But yeah, only one thing left to say, really, and that is life will find a way.
Way.
Bye-bye.